All right, in this video, we're going to be sowing my zinnias. I've got quite a few different varieties of zinnias, and I'm getting ahead of myself this year because normally I plant my zinnias after my ranunculus have finished flowering. I pull my ranunculus up and then I sow my zinnias in the ranuncular patch, which you can see here. But of course, this leaves me with a huge gap waiting for the zinnias to grow. And in fact, I only ended up with about 3 last year because the birds picked over them and ate them. So this year I decided I'm going to do them, sow them in trays before obviously the ranunculus have finished. And that means when the ranunculus have finished, I'll be able to transplant already established zinnias straight into that spot. So first we're going to go through the zinnias that I'm going to sow today. And this first packet is called Forecast, and they're just sort of for bedding plants and containers and things like that. This second one that you can see me holding under my thumb is Purple Prince. So that's more of a border flower and a cut flower. And some of these were packets, by the way, I've had since last year, and a couple are new. So the next one, and also some of them have pictures and some of them more speciality varieties don't. They just come in plain packets. So the next one, I'll do one that's an old one as well. And these are the giant double mix. So again, you could have these as cut flowers or border flowers. They're nice and tall, supposedly. No, they are actually, because I have had these ones grow. The next ones are the Cresto Peach Pink, which were those sunsetty colours, those really nice apricot-y, peachy colours that everyone likes for their bouquets and borders. And I thought they'd be really nice, and I hadn't grown these before, so I thought I'd give them a go. And I'm showing you here, of course, that they get nice and tall, so they're ideal for a tall border plant and a cut flower. This next one is Benary's Giant, which I saw from some of the US flower farmers and flower growers over there. They were recommended, so I got those. The Zinnia Elegant Oklahoma were another variety that you recommended over there in the States. And of the Oklahoma, I have a mixed, so I don't know what colours they'll be, and specifically a pink. I have a Benary's Giant, again, another one recommended to me by a YouTuber stateside, although, sorry, there was lots of you, so I can't remember specifically which one you were. I don't mean to be dismissive, but I do watch loads of flower farming videos, so it's all a bit of a blur. This one is a Cinderella Peach, again going with that lovely peachy apricot-y colour scheme. There was a lilac in there as well. And that one you just saw was Mazurkia. And the final one here is Envy. And so as you can see, there is rather a lot for me to be getting on with. And while I was out here, I decided to write up the labels. But then it started to rain. It was really lovely here doing my video in this nice daylight, but it did start to rain, so I did have to move the whole video into the greenhouse to finish off, to do the next stage basically. So I wrote out all the labels first before my hands got really dirty, and I decided that in the end, so although you'll see me write out all these labels, I didn't actually do the Purple Prince and the Giant double mixed because I figured I actually had enough, and I'm going to succession sow anyway, so I did hold some back for another sowing later. But because I was really keen to see how these come out, and because I might do them as cut flowers, I've said before I might sell cut flowers, but even if I don't do that, I'm going to collect the seed. And also because they're a crop rotation and I want them to come as soon as the ranunculars are over, I just needed to get enough done that would be, say, a month down the line in their trays now, so that they'll be tall enough and big enough to sort of take over that space where the ranunculars have finished flowering, and there won't be too big of a gap before they start flowering as well. That's the plan. Doesn't mean that's going to happen, but let's see how we get on. So next thing, I'm going to pot them up. Well, in fact, just before I sow them, I just wanted to show you these 2 zinnias that I obviously thought I was sowing my dahlias back when I started my dahlias. And these 2 came up as zinnias. And as you can see, they're doing really well. They're nice and healthy. and they are, that one behind them is a dahlia, but these two are zinnias. So I was thinking, well, these two are doing quite well, started quite close together like this. They seem to have come on really well. So I'm going to plant them. I'm going to use that as a guide. When I plant up the seeds, that's the distance that I am going to sow them at. And the other thing I just want to quickly show you is how I prepared my foil tray. So I'm just going to show you that first. So these are the foil trays that I have been using for a while for sowing, and I use different varieties depending on how shallow or deep I want them. These are the deepest ones, but I don't like the lip on them because it means you can't kind of store the, you take up too much space. You want things when you're sowing, you want to have as much room as possible and the trays to sort of butt up to each other, so you don't have wasteful gaps in your greenhouse. And I also wanted the trays to be deep enough that the zinnias could last a month, like those other ones I showed you, without there being too much stress on their roots. So here I am showing you how I made the tray deeper and more rectangular, more angular, so that I can put all these trays together instead of having that lid, that lip, sort of creating a bit of an obstacle and some wasted space. And all I did was obviously fold up the edges so that they were standing up. And then to secure them so it wasn't floppy, I sort of turned over those corners by pinching them and then sort of bending them over. And by the time you've done all four of these, they're really sturdy. Then you have to obviously puncture some holes in as well. But I figure I'm actually going to sow all my salads like this because they were just absolutely brilliant. And they're so cheap. And you can use them again. So here we are. This is the first one that I'm doing. I'm not going to show you them all, but I'll just show you this one and then we'll fast forward through the rest while I talk through the rest, because you don't need to see me sow them all. They're all sown in exactly the same way. I did fill up this whole tray with one whole packet of the zinnias, and then I realised perhaps that was too many, and then so I split the other trays into two different varieties each. This is a bit laborious, so I did, just as I say, cast the seeds about the same distance as the ones that I showed you, so that they wouldn't be too congested in this tray. But as you see, as I go on, I end up doing two varieties in each tray and just divide the tray. So the other thing I did was just lay them on the surface, and you are supposed to cover them, but what I do instead is just push them down and then I pinch the soil back over the top of them. And I don't know whether I mentioned it, but these are the Cinderella lilac. And so then I just went through all the other zinnias that I outlined at the beginning of the video in exactly the same way, and then rearranged them all on the shelving so that they would get good light. Where there were only a few, so the speciality zinnias, as the Chiltern Seeds one, most of them, the Oklahoma and I can't remember which ones, but they only had a few in. They had like 20 in them. So I used all those seeds, but kept the packet because then I can refer to that packet later if I ever need to. Until I get more familiar with the varieties. And some of them had lots in, so I've got lots for succession sowing. And as I said, my plan going forward may well be this year. I'm thinking I could sell some because I do have some nice speciality flowers that would make really nice cut flowers. But if I don't, this year will definitely be very invested in collecting all the seeds and, just really ramping up my supplies and my stock of seeds, and also my knowledge of growing ready for next year if I don't do them this year, which I may well do. I haven't ruled it out or anything. And the final thing was just to arrange them on the shelves. So I had three on this top shelf because they get a lot of light from the back of the greenhouse, and then three on the front shelf, which they get light all around, but the three on the front shelf get the light, more light in the morning, less light in the afternoon, and then it's flipped over for the back shelf. But they all get good light. And also, anyway, they haven't even germinated yet, so they don't even need the light. And if I feel like they're not getting enough light here, I'll figure that out when they've germinated. So then just the final thing to talk about is the temperature. So the reason we're not due any more frosts here in the UK, but we have had an Arctic wind. So we've had a wind coming from the Arctic, which has really chilled things up. But here in the greenhouse, where the plants are protected from this wind, the temperature is absolutely ideal for starting these zinnias, which like it between sort of minimum really 10 degrees plus. So 10 degrees, so what's that? 50 Fahrenheit. So that's absolutely ideal. As you can see, it's above that here in the greenhouse, and it's unlikely to dip below 10. In fact, it hasn't dipped below 10 all of April because I've been monitoring it, maybe at night, I don't know, but not in the day, and certainly well above 10 most days. So these are the absolute ideal temperatures for these zinnias. And of course, they're just a reminder where they're going to go in that bed. And the forecast ones, the smaller, more jolly, sort of cheaper budget ones, will just go in containers and in bare spots as and when needed. And as I say, I'll collect the seed, and there you go. So I'm really pleased with these foil containers folded up like this. I'm actually over the moon with them. It's about 60 or 70p for two, and I think that's pretty cheap, and you can reuse them. So there you go, that's my zinnias done. I'm really pleased I got that done today because I have, as usual, had to go and pick my daughter up from school, take the dogs for a walk, blah, blah, blah. I had to do something else. And it was all sort of chop and change. And then it rained. But in the end, we got there, and I'm really, really pleased with how it all turned out, and this little system I have for folding up these fall trays, which I am so definitely doing my salad in, because I was thinking I can't do salad in plant pots. I can't do them in ornamental pots. It's kind of a waste of an ornamental pot. And I don't really want to go and buy a load of pots, because then it's like, well, you're not really saving money on salad if you've got to go and spend a fortune on pots. But these foil trays are perfect, and it kind of means I can sow pretty much an unlimited amount of salad. So I'm getting sidetracked. Anyway, there you go. Really happy with that job. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please subscribe and click the notification bell and share with your friends. And please don't forget to check out my website, which I have thoroughly neglected, and my merch, because I've been so busy trying to bring you these videos, but I will get back to it and update it all soon. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you again soon. Bye.